we get rolling with this week's episode, I do believe we have a secret giveaway winner to announce. So in last week's episode, there was a link down below in the show notes to enter to win a free copy of my 2018 portfolio box set, which will be shipping in late November. There are 433 people who entered to win, which I gotta say, I was blown away by. That's the most people that have ever entered to win anything. And many of you guys wrote some really, really kind comments when you were entering to win the contest. I read through every single one of them. I really appreciate it. It made my day, I gotta say. And I had to choose one person of all those people. I got just one person to win the box set. So I had Siri choose a random number between 1 and 433. And the winner of the 2018 box set is Owen Donahoe. So congratulations, Owen. I will give you an opportunity to hopefully watch this in the video here, and then I'll reach out to you in a day or so. And then the box set will be shipping in kind of like late November. And also at the time of recording this, 84 copies of the box set have already sold, which means there's only like 16 left if you do want to perhaps get one in time for Christmas, because I have the ability to ship about 100 of them in time for Christmas. And then beyond that, it'll be into early January. But I really appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. And this week's video is all about working with a mature technology and some of the things I've learned along the way. Hope you guys enjoy. What is going on, everyone? So in this week's video, I want to talk about the beauty of working with a mature technology. And this is something that has kind of come up with all the talk over the past month about the new mirrorless systems coming out. Canon, Nikon, Panasonic, all this new stuff coming out, new lenses and everything. And one thing really struck me, and that was the fact that I'm just really glad that I shoot film. I mean, it's exciting when new stuff comes out. I mean, I'm filming this right now on a Sony a7S II. I do work with digital cameras as well. And I think what you'll find is a lot of people who shoot film cameras also work with digital cameras. So this is not a digital versus film thing, but there's a certain, there's something that's really nice about working with film and the fact that it is a mature technology. And so in this video, I want to sort of talk about some of those observations that I have and some of the reasons why it is that I shoot film. So I want to take you back to 2009. And that was the year I went on my first solo landscape photography trip. And there was a photo I shot on that trip, which is kind of a turning point for me. And that was, it's a photo I've shared many times before in these videos. It's one called Southwestern Zen. And it's a photo of this bush kind of set up against this wall with all this desert varnish, and it was in reflected light. And I shot that on a 4x5 camera. And this was my first trip working with a 4x5 camera. And I brought along on that trip another camera as well. And at the time, it was a Canon 1DS Mark III, which was at the time a stupidly expensive camera. It's about an $8,000 camera. It was a 21 megapixel camera. And at the time, it was, state of the art, really, really, really good. And my goal was to shoot both film and digital on that trip and kind of figure out what it was that I really was going to go for, what I really liked most, and the way of working with it and everything along those lines. And the day before I shot that photo, I ended up hiking into North County Buttes to the Wave, and I was setting up a photo with the 4x5. I shot it, then I was going to shoot the same thing on digital. I just wasn't really feeling it, and I kind of put the digital camera away for the rest of the trip and just concentrated on shooting 4x5. But let's say, for example, that I actually shot this same scene, this Southwestern Zen photo, on both digital as well as on 4x5 film, and sort of talk about what the effects of that would be over time, because it's been about 10 years since I shot that photo. Now, when I look at that photo I shot on 4x5, it was taken on Fuji Velvia 50. It was a very appropriate film for that scene because Velvia 50 does really well in reflected light, which is the light I was working with. I have the focus exactly where it should be. I have the composition the way it would be. And basically, if I could go back in time, relive that moment and reshoot it, I really wouldn't want to do anything different because I'm fully satisfied with all the decisions that I made when I shot that photo. Now, let's say I shot that also on digital. how would I be thinking about that photo, a photo I shot 10 years ago, compared to how things are now? And even though it was taken with one of the best cameras at the time, even though if I still made all the right decisions, I would still be left with that little bit of a sort of hesitation, sort of a reservation about that photo, knowing that it could be even better if it was shot on a more recent camera, like a, an Nikon D850 with 40 something megapixels, or some other really high resolution camera that's out. So I think with time, with digital, we end up having a little bit of a growing sort of resentment towards some of the past work because we feel like it could be better if it was shot on a new camera. And that's kind of the job of the camera makers nowadays. They go out of their way to make you feel as though the camera that you're working with now suddenly is not good enough anymore when the new one comes out, because things still are changing with digital. Kind of like if you have a car you really, really like and then the new one comes out. One day you were really happy with your car, the next day you see that new car, it's like, what I have suddenly isn't quite good enough. The cool thing about film is you don't have that. Any decisions that you make that lead to a photo not turning out quite right, so in the example, that Southwestern Zen photo, if the focus wasn't right, if the exposure wasn't right, these are all things that I'm responsible for. And when stuff happens, I know that I work harder to try to make it even better the next time around. That's one of the reasons why I really love working with film, because the quality of a photo I shot 10 years ago will be the same quality of a photo I shoot 10 years from now. It also builds a sense of consistency in one's work. And one of the things I absolutely love is looking back at some of these old photos I've taken and knowing that not only did I make all the right decisions at that point in time to capture it the way that I really wanted to, but knowing that it was all because of my own hard work and my own decision making. And the thought process when working with the cameras, when working with let's say a 4x5 or an 8x10 or medium format camera, you don't really think about the equipment as much. It doesn't really become about that at all. It's not the technical side. You focus more on the composition, the subject, the lighting, the stuff that really does make a difference. So if any of you guys are kind of looking to maybe kind of step outside the rat race of digital, I would say, try a film camera if you're curious about it, because it might change the way you see things. You'll shoot less. You might see that your keeper rate goes up quite a bit higher. But it's also really nice to look back at your past work and still have a ton of respect for it and knowing that it was all of your decisions that kind of created that. And so that's one of the things I really do enjoy about working with immature technology. But I want to thank everyone for watching, and we'll see you around next week.